And welcome back to another edition of Indiepocalypse Radio. I am your host, Andrew, back at it again after. Did I have a week off? Oh, I did have a week off last week because I was out at a local market. I highly recommend local markets. They're cool things. They cost like $40. I was in like those like old mill sort of, not malls, large space with whatchamacallit. It's like a farmer's market space. It's cool. If you're ever in Providence, Rhode Island, and you're like, oh, what does Indiepocalypse look like in person? You can see it there. One person did. It was very strange. It was the first time where someone was like, they looked at the zine and they're like, huh. They look quizzically and they're like, this thing looks familiar. And then they're like, oh, I know this thing. I followed on itch. It only took 3.5 years, but folks, we've made it. We've peaked. Speaking of made it, some guests have made it to this show. The show being Indiepocalypse Radio, the show about Indiepocalypse vaguely, mostly about, hey, what if I hung out with 90% contributors to Indiepocalypse, but largely expanding into the wider games and art world because I live within the larger games and art world. Anyway, with issue 42, let me delete this other person who's not actually here. With issue 42 of Indiepocalypse with Slasher U, it's Andy Setagata. How you doing, Andy?
Good. You're the first person to ever pronounce my name correctly
Thank you.
without asking.
No, listen.
Congrats.
I've say a lot of names. I have multiple friends with very long names, and the first thing, the secret for all the people out there who are unclear, is to get out of your head for a second, and and realize a lot of syllables are not actually intimidating.
Oh yeah, people just kind of short circuit if your name's over a certain length.
Right, right.
They do not.
Yeah, and I was like, no, no. It's just like I have friends with Q's in their names. I'm not afraid of this. I have zero fear of last names, except when
Truly bravery.
except when they have like accents or like they're also coming from a foreign country. So I'm like, oh, where do I throw the spice on this? um,
Oh God, the spice.
yeah, where do I sling this emphasis on this name? And sometimes I get it right, sometimes I get it wrong. Uh, but anyway, names aside, there are other names like names of your game. That name being Slasher U. So, important question. Before we get to that, the number one question, the number one Indiepocalypse question is: how did you hear about Indiepocalypse?
I randomly stumbled across it on itch, and I genuinely don't remember how.
No, that's
Actually.
that's good. That means it's permeating into the consciousness slowly.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, I think I went into a fugue state,
right, right. You're
and it
like
appeared.
you're like, what are these cool little things? But no, that's how a lot of people look. Thanks for itch existing and allowing people to easily find it. It would be
Actually, I think I did actually see someone submitting to Indiepocalypse, and I was like, "Oh wait, no, no, you liked my game." And I was like, "Who's this pizza pranks?" And your
oh
bio says, "If I liked your game, you should submit to Indiepocalypse." And I was like, "What's Indiepocalypse?" And now I'm here.
oh. So I'm wondering now. The important question is who 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 is the connective tissue? I wonder now
Ah, the
because
true mystery.
when I like games, so I follow everyone who's in Indiepocalypse and sometimes other people too,
Huh.
and I make heavy use of people's ratings and collections, which basically means
Oh.
whenever someone rates something, which is 90% of the time 5 stars, but if they rate it like 1 star, I don't add it obviously because I think the game's bad. But anyone who rates things 5 stars or adds to like a positive kind of collection, I go, yeah, I'll add the game to my giant ass list. So there is
Yeah.
somewhere. If I chose to spend the time, which I won't, because who knows how long that would be over almost like 2 months ago at this point. uh,
Yeah, I think your list is like several thousand games.
yes, yes,
Oh,
yes, it is, and over the weekends it'll accumulate like that rating and collections list will sometimes accumulate like 30 to 40 new entries. So multiply that by 60. That's a lot. Anyway,
hoarding like a dragon.
Yeah, that's too much stuff. Anyway, but that's a cool thing. I think two or three people have said that before, that they've been
Nice.
like, yeah, I was on this list that said to submit your game, and I submitted it, like working as intended. But that all
System
said,
works.
that all said, how you doing? No, what is Slasher U?
uh,
if one were unfamiliar with Slasher U,
oh, let me do my little song and dance.
yes, yes. I feel like you
Yes.
are for a reason right now. You are very in your song and dance.
Oh God, I'm probably gonna get into that at some point.
Yes.
So Slasher U is a RPG dating sim set at America's horniest horror movie university, where you play someone who's majoring in final girlism or mass murder or any other number of horror majors. You
Yeah.
go around, you fall in love. Its big claim to fame is that it has full blown sex mechanics. I worked really hard on these. Each single character has a narratively unique set of mechanics and systems that is relevant to their story and personality.
Yeah.
So each have like two sets of unique mini games. And the other thing is the way that it's paced is it's not like threaded like a traditional visual novel. It works on this behind the scenes series of feelings triggers. So basically, each NPC has a calculation of how similar the player is to them
Yeah.
and how much they like them. And that triggers different events and story sequences. So every time you play, a different thing happens. And Act 1 is out right now, and you can play it on Itch.io.
Yes.
Or
Yes.
Google it.
Act
Yes.
one. Act one is the one within Indiepocalypse.
Yes.
And if you're going, usually I'm not like an alpha Act One kind of like I say, give me your finished game, but it is a beefy Act One.
Yeah, it's got I think more than 15 hours of content.
Yes,
Five
yeah.
dateable characters. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
it's
each. Yeah.
it's just
Oh, stop.
it's a real girthy Act One you have there.
I was worried because Indiepocalypse was like, I really don't want to play your alpha or the first half of something, and I was like,
Yeah, but there is like usually when the people I feel often misuse alpha or like maybe they use it too accurately, where maybe you're not actually alpha properly, and you're like, no, it's just Act One. Uh, but like
yeah.
alpha, a lot of
People
times
do use it
just
as.
doesn't work. It feels 100% unfinished.
Oh yeah, when people say quote unquote early access, and you're
Yeah.
like, is this in the middle of dev?
Right.
Have I just stumbled on you? Yeah.
Right. Right. Or it feels like unsatisfyingly complete, you know. But
Yeah.
like, but no, you've got a real dense. I'll admit
Thank you.
this has come out on Indie Podcast before. I did not play for the full 15 hours. That's a,
That is totally understandable.
that's like that's 2 times 3x the entire month's worth of entries, you know, within a
Yeah, I'm
singular
not
game.
expecting. You
That
can finish one romance arc in 3 hours, which is a lot more
Right.
playable. So-
Yeah, that happens sometimes where I will be like, yeah, I'm like an hour in deep. I'm like, yeah, I vibe with this thing. I'm one
Oh,
person
yeah.
with a full time job.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't imagine if it was like, what's it called? Like, you know, I only have so much time. What if I want to make games sometimes too?
You deserve to make games.
I
This is
have,
your right.
I have a PS1 copy of RPG Maker right next to me, and it's part of a secret project I want to start. I just want to make little RPG Maker games for
I
people.
freaking love old school RPG Maker stuff.
I want to
Like,
make
yeah.
little custom ones that people request.
Ooh, that's interesting. Like little kind of bespoke RPG Maker.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I like this bespoke stuff, and I remember it was probably, if I remember the exciting moment of this years ago was cartoonist Evan Dom had been like, did this,
Oh, dang, Evan! I'm a cartoonist, so
Yes.
I'm waving my arms around. Yeah.
this show is partially in relation to me liking the ambiguity program a lot, and the idea of live streams. But no, he's done a thing where he's like, give me a word, I'll make you a cryptic object or something. And I like the idea of like a bespoke one word prompt kind of RPG stuff.
That's a great idea.
But time, you know.
Oh yeah. Oh.
But speaking of time, we're gonna blitz some stuff real quick.
Gotcha.
You have 10 questions.
Oh, hello.
We're gonna. Well, some of these questions are multi-layered. Could apply to both guests. Some of these questions are not vague enough for that. So our first series is from Owl, and is what's the weirdest bit of code in your game?
Oh, geez. That's a hard one. My favorite piece of code is the Tate tripping balls code. If you take shrooms in my game, it redoes a lot of the assets in the text to reveal what one of the characters actually thinks about people. So all their names are changed and a bunch of weird stuff happens. The weirdest piece of code. I really like Headless Horse Mike's jealousy code a
Okay.
lot, but I've been talking about this. Okay, so basically, one of the characters starts off with a crush on another character.
Yeah.
So the closer you get to character two, the more character one hates you, and the more character two likes you, the more he hates you as well. So you don't actually have to interact with him directly.
Yeah.
And after a certain point, he just kind of develops this rivalry with you. But in Act Two, you'll be able to convince him not to have a crush anymore, which just directly reverts what you've done in the middle of a conversation. So.
Weird. Indeed. I love kind of like densely complicated, like under the hood, like
Oh, you should
romance
see
mechanics. It's
you should see what's going on here. It's
yeah. No, it is. Okay, so second question: what inspired the characters of the Romanceables?
okay. Let's see. In general, I really, really like how certain Dragon Age games do romance, specifically Dragon Age Origins.
Yeah.
It's Dragon Age Origins, yeah. The way that the Alistair romance plays out is also non-linear, so you can trigger like certain memories in Alistair, and that builds your relationship and changes the way that he acts and stuff. And entering different main parts of the quest, he'll change his dialogue. Same with Fallout New Vegas, not in a romanceable way, but
Right.
depending on how you act in New Vegas, Benny has completely different dialogue based on how he feels about you.
No,
So,
I love.
yeah.
I don't know. I can't remember if it's real or if it's like cut content that I watched, but I love if you like get into and out of a relationship with Alistair, and Morgan gives you a lot of shit about it, and she like teases you about it.
Oh yeah, it's great. She's
And
like, so I love Morgan. I love Morgan so much.
let's see. Next question. Oh, I already added. I already went to the next one. What are you most excited about? What are you most excited to work for on Act Two?
Ooh, let's see. Right now I'm working on Layla's Final Girl Ball quest. So basically, there's this like gauntlet for final girls where you have to pass a series of challenges and knock out each of the other like couples in the challenge, and that's her like romance quest.
Yeah.
Something I really want to implement is a way to get out of each of the challenges by doing a hookup mini game with each of the characters. So I wanted to figure out a puzzle way to do that, and also have it narratively so that Layla doesn't completely kill you.
Yeah.
'Cause, yeah,
Ah.
you're kind of you can technically get into that quest if you're not dating her. I did write that in, and there's a lot of gags for if you're not, but 90% of the people who are going to go on there are there for Layla. So
Right. Because they're kind of just already thinking in that kind of like mindset and already along that path, mentally speaking.
right, trying to seek out certain characters' content and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a quantitative question. This is a question with a strict answer that you may or may not know. I'm not asking you to look it up if you don't know. How many lines of code have you written so far for Slasher U?
Oh no. I have no idea. Okay, so I make Slasher U in Wolf RPG Editor, which is based off of 1998 RPG Maker.
Okay.
So it is the lo-fi-est possible RPG Maker.
Yeah.
You're basically using drop-down menus for your variables. You're setting your own variables. You're still like basically coding and scripting, but
Right.
you have to manually type everything in.
But you're
So,
not in Ruby.
Yeah, not quite. So it is a little. You know what? If you'll give me 30 seconds, if I can't find it then
Okay.
I won't have an answer for you.
I will give you 30 seconds, and I'll use that time to vamp a little, and then move over to the next question.
Sick.
Okay. This here is this. I will post this into. This is from Max. I will post this into. Okay. This is a question. I was gonna say this is. I thought this was. I will post you the full text of this because it's a fun little thing.
Okay.
Uh, maybe.
Oh, I
I
have an answer.
okay for the this question or for the lines of code question.
For the posted question.
Yes, yes. You interpret
Okay.
this because I feel like you will be able to interpret this question better than I can.
Okay, so there is a line of dialogue when you go to prom that says Sawyer isn't actually eligible for prom royalty because he's in
Yeah.
grad school, and they want to give the undergrads a chance to actually be for prom because they have a shorter life expectancy, and Sawyer's made it this far, so people tend not to survive to the end of the slasher university here. So, but I let's see, I can kind of figure out the average of it. So basically, each section of code is segmented into common events. On average, each event has about um, somewhere between 40 and several thousand lines of code, and I have 749 events of sections. So,
So a lot.
really a lot, a lot.
Yeah.
Uh, just in one body count minigame alone, let's see, I have uh, uh, um, about 1,000 lines of code. 998. So multiply that by 2 per each minigame, and that's just the minigames. It's
A lot.
oh geez, you know what? It's a lot. No more math.
Yes, math. Listen, when I do math on the show, I accidentally hit the button that makes me stop streaming and stop recording.
I got a D minus in high school physics, so
Oh,
if you're wondering why this is a 2D video game,
I'm I I'm not bad at math. I'm good. I economics, which is like a 30% math major. Uh,
oh wow.
yeah, you have to do like curve lines and shit. But also, it's weird. It's also philosophy, sort of. I don't know. Like it probably
Oh,
really depends on the course you're in. That aside, we have a new question here from Jamie, which is Archibald looks annoyed every time he talks with us. I'm assuming this phrasing here. Does he hate us or something?
Yes.
Or maybe he's wondering. Maybe the question is, I'm wondering if he hates us or something.
He is perpetually annoyed by almost every single thing that goes on this campus, except for maybe Veronica, which, if you played Act 1, you'll know why.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Perfect. Next.
No one has pointed out the Veronica Archibald thing yet, by the way, so, waiting for the other shoe to drop.
I don't know if I could point it out, and I'm dense within.
Somewhere a comics fan is waving their arms and screaming.
Oh yeah, you got me. I can't believe I was half a step away. Like my brain couldn't make
You're so close.
a 1/2 step. And honestly, that's what I thought at first too.
Oh yeah, that was on purpose.
That's what I thought at first. I'm like, no, I'm missing something else, because his name doesn't have a bald at the end. Anyway, Jackson 69.
And Veronica spelled with a K, but anyway, go on.
Jackson 69 is asking, is there a character who is yandere? I'm sorry.
Yes, it's
yes.
Sawyer. That is who you're going to want to be dating. Sawyer Ferguson. I actually had to have somebody explain to me what a yandere was, because people kept adding the game to my favorite yandere collections, and I'm like,
right.
I need to look this up. And the answer is yes, it's Sawyer. He chases you. He wants you very badly.
Yeah,
he will do. Oh, yeah.
It's something that exists within Western media as well. I don't think we have a word for it. It's single white female adjacent.
It's interesting how there's like a Western female idea of it, and in a lot of Eastern media, it's kind of more of a. No, that's not true. That's not true at all. I think people just add my game to male yandere sims because there's a male yandere in it.
Right. I'm trying to interpret this as a question. Okay, this slasher you, but the main character is Monica from Doki Doki Literature Club. I don't.
I have not played Doki Doki Literature Club. I'm so sorry.
I can't help you there either.
Wow.
Sorry to Monica.
That's the second time someone's brought that up today. Actually, Doki Doki Literature Club. I should play it. I really should.
I'm of two minds because I can't. It exists in a space where I can't tell if it's good or if it's like an intro to kind of like that deconstructionist stuff of like. But if you're like up your own ass enough, you're like, oh, this is just I get what it is,
Right, like I've been grilling my friends about this. I was like, "So, what's the deal?" And they just look me dead in the eye, and they're like, "Oh no, it's not what you think."
Right.
So,
But
yeah,
I'm older. I've experienced plenty of things that aren't what you think. I've enjoyed
you're
plenty of
wizened.
deconstructive, abstract works of art. Um,
It's just been deconstructed so many times that you
yeah.
just want things to be constructed again.
Right. So I'm like that's where my hesitation comes. Where it's like, oh well, if that's the main appeal, that it feels like it is destroying this, or like breaking from this norm. Um, and
But
I
it is good, I hear.
Yeah.
Also, which
Yes. That's the thing. It might just also be well written. That might be what it takes.
yeah.
Last final question. From Ayato. Would you be writing a walkthrough on all characters or even poly possibilities?
There is actually currently a romance walkthrough. If you go for Act One, if you go onto the main page and scroll down, there's a link to basically how to unlock all of the mini games and progress through the romances. I'm gonna write one for prom because that's the one with a ton of different options. I'm not sure if I'm gonna be able to write one that includes every single variation, just because this game is really
Right,
big.
right. You have a lot going
Yeah.
on, and
But
you have to
someone
make the games as
started
well.
yeah, it's a lot. But someone did start a wiki, so if you've played through the game and want to add your personal discoveries to it, that would probably be helpful for future people who really, really, really want to know how to get Sawyer to chase them.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah.
Listen, it's for the fans to go out there and go on GameFAQs and make a Slasher U ASCII logo for their
You
GameFAQs
guys are the
walkthrough.
best. Oh god. Yeah, but there is actually a walkthrough for all
Yeah.
the main romances on the itch page, not on the main website. So
Perfect, perfect. Now
yeah.
we sprinted through. Now, Andy, should you? Oh no, there's one more question because I did post a link. Is there cannibalism in the game?
No,
Perfect.
surprisingly.
There's no.
But
Now we might get back to this in a second in the group segment, but we have
cannibalism?
no horror. I'm curious about horror. Someone who has a love of horror as well, both in terms of what do they call it? Elevated horror,
Mm.
and also sloppy bullshit.
Oh yeah.
They both have a deep affections, but so before we're approaching the end of this segment, actually, but before we go, I gotta ask: do you have sort of like someone's like, oh, I like the dating sims, I like to slash you, but I'm not familiar with this whole like slasher horror archetype genre. What's something you would say like, hey, you should try this out? I think you might like it.
Evil Dead 2.
Okay.
Like straight up. My favorite horror movie is Cabin in the Woods, but I feel like you might enjoy that more if you've seen some horror movies
Right,
first.
right. I think that takes
Spoiling the
a bit of
yeah.
a bit of like what's not knowledge, but like it's part of
A
like
baseline.
it plays with concepts.
Yeah, yeah, which I think you get a lot more out of it if you've seen a bunch of horror movies first. I think
Yeah.
Evil Dead 2 is a great intro to horror comedy. Also, we're about to start movie night on the Slasher U Discord, and we're gonna watch Shaun of the Dead first.
Okay.
That's a movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean that whole folks. If you've never seen that whole Cornetto trilogy,
Oh my god, yeah.
and then you listen, then you go
Hot
back.
Fuzz?
What was that?
Hot Fuzz is like my favorite one out of the whole trilogy. But
Right.
go on, yeah.
Yeah. No. Then you go back and you watch Spaced. Spaced.
I love Spaced. Holy
Yes,
crap.
I was a weird nerd who had like during that early era when it was like I think it was around the same time I got Spaced and Mr. Show. I was like, yes, I grew up in a time where we did not have HBO, but now these weird cult comedies are available on DVD. And I
For
can,
my perusal, yeah. When he goes to the fake Dark Horse company, when he shows his portfolio as a cartoonist and he just gets torn apart, it's perfect.
I have a GIF of him of the cowboy. He shoots little cowboy fingers and flips around to the door when he like.
Yes.
Anyway.
Oh god, Simon Pegg, perfection.
but so before we go, Andy, with our final official Indiepocalypse, this is what was previously asked frequently. Now it's just a question that I like to personally ask. It is. Do you have? Soul is here. Wait, we got Soul has returned. I forgot about this question. It fell off. Oh my god. Speaking of, I had two questions, and then one kept asking, and then I forgot one of them. But there were two questions. It's the rock question. Andy, do you have a favorite rock? Favorite kind of rock? No, what's your favorite kind of rock?
It's really funny that you asked me this because someone has asked me this relatively recently, and I just screamed igneous for no reason. Yes, I feel like saying that.
Okay.
Also, before I leave, I should plug the Kickstarter.
Yes, no, you're not going anywhere, really. You can stick
good.
around.
Can I talk about igneous rock some more?
Yes, yeah. We'll say, you mentioned that there's a Slash Review Act 2 Kickstarter. When we get to everyone's favorite section of podcasts where people promote their stuff, we'll hear about it.
Right this second.
Andy will have free reign to yell nonstop about it. That's what those segments are for.
Okay.
Tell me about, but here, we're talking about igneous rocks. Tell me about igneous rocks.
I believe there are 3 kinds of rocks: sedimentary, igneous, and the third one. Wait, what is the third one? I never took geology.
3 types of rocks. You take care of that. I'll look up rocks. But tell me about it's metamorphic.
Yeah, see, I don't recall what that one is. And sedimentary rocks, I think, are made by layers of earth moving together and compressing. Sediment, yes.
Sand, silt,
you want to hear something cool that is rocks, actually?
Yeah.
I completely changed my answer. So, you guys know Yosemite Valley?
Yes.
Like the national park? Okay. So, the cliffs in Yosemite Valley are actually gigantic single pieces of rock that have risen out of the ground to form a cliff, which is sick as hell. So, when you look at Half Dome and stuff, that's actually just one gigantic rock. That's my favorite rock. I think that kicks ass.
Perfect. And then the final question, the formerly Mochi, now the genuinely Andrew interested, as you can tell from my intro music.
Wait, also,
yes,
I just realized if that was a question about music, it's punk.
Yes, that's probably my favorite type of. As you'll tell by the 2 punk rock interludes that I'll be playing during this.
Oh yeah.
I listen to a lot of punk rock music.
Yes, likewise.
But one final question before we go, Andy. Do you have a favorite Toho character?
All these things that I need and watching and doing. I'm adding this to my list. To my list of things. I do not.
No, that's fine.
Do consumer media.
That is that's why that question is not what is, it is do you?
Aha! The answer is sadly no, but I could one day.
Yes. Anyway, if people are here wondering what's going on in the show, it's a radio show. People come on and they bullshit for a long time. And is there a rock character in Toho? I don't know. I have to learn that from my Toho 101 course that I'll host during the next pledge drive. That's
going to be the next university-themed dating sim.
I do love the girl with crystal wings. I am a long-established fan of all of the. I believe that is Flandry is the girl with the crystal wings. Scarlet Devil Mansion rules. It's all like goth vampires or whatever, and maids.
Oh dang, that sounds right up my alley.
It's good. It's good. There's a lot of wings in. Yes, yeah. I believe Flandry. I believe is the crystal wing one.
I will throw out who I dated in Monster Prom, though, if that helps anybody. It was Damien and Calculester, if that means anything to anyone.
That doesn't mean anything to me, but I only play old video games.
Well, I mean...
and new indie video games. And I read books and watch movies. And anyway, we're going to go to break.
It is Barbenheimer weekend.
Yes.
So...
yeah. I did watch... a very bad movie. I watched a very bad movie last night. I'm not even going to talk about it because it was very bad. But it did remind me of... and this is a sick burn on... what's his name? How did I forget his name? Giallo legend, Suspiria. In my brain, all I can think was Mario Bava, but it's not Mario Bava. Someone here, you should help me out here.
Believe in the power of chat that I can't see.
It'll take me like 30 seconds to look it up because I just type in Suspiria. Oh my god, the internet's literally the worst. Never in my life Never in the life of anyone have they ever typed Dario. Yes, it's Dario Argento. Thank you, Dario Argento.
Ah, yes.
Anyway, the student film reminded me of Dario Argento's Dracula, which is a major slam on how terrible Dario Argento's Dracula looks, and there's no reason why it looks so terrible. Anyway, we're going on break. Before I get very excited about horror movies, we'll be back in like a minute and 2 seconds. BRB.
Thanks for asking me questions.
No, we'll have more questions when we get to the group segments. Don't worry. Yes, right. Thanks to the audience. I just relayed them all.
Thanks, murderfuckers. I can say that on this show, right?
Yes,
oh,
you
God.
can say whatever you want. No, you can't say whatever you want on this show, but you know.
Oh, God, no.
You know what I mean when I say that. You know
I do.
Yeah,
Thanks.
Welcome back to Indiepocalypse Radio. That was Printhead with Anyone. I was like, oh, wait a minute. Maybe that one wasn't a punk rock thing. That's more like, they're in that more like post-punk sort of area. Anyway, we're back with our next guest, who is from issue, where am I? There we go. Throwing it back, not 3 years, but we're getting close to that, with issue 10 of Indiepocalypse with Budget Rate Stigmata. It's here, Rob. Hello, how you doing today?
Hello, I'm fine.
Ah, great. We actually, speaking of music, we played a bit of yours on the top of the show.
Oh Lord!
I played like when people have music, I'm like, I'll play some of the music. I put some Toluca Lake up top.
The dark ambient album. It's not really chill podcast music.
Oh no! Listen, I will play. I play like aggressive jazz music in the intro. I play. What was that? What was that band I was playing? I was playing some Brahm and Kill Lincoln. And Kill Lincoln's like a ska punk band. I play Banana Melt on this show. I'll play aggressive, obnoxious music, and not to say your music was aggressive, obnoxious, but I'm saying I will. This is not a chill podcast. This is for people who want to have a great time. If you know the Lapetites, I've played them a lot, and they're very abrasive. But I'm a sick who loves abrasive music. Speaking of music, and speaking of games, speaking of a long time ago, Rob, I want you to cast your mind back 22 months, almost 2 years ago. No, I might be saying 32 months. Over 2 years ago. How did you hear about Indiepocalypse?
I definitely actually do remember because I had just made Budget Rate Stigmata for like a long game jam, and I got a bunch of messages from people that told me that it was like one of the worst games and they hated it so much, and it made me feel really bad. And I just happened to see Indiepocalypse on Itch when I was looking around, and I was like, I'm just gonna throw it on there because I don't even care anymore. and then I got an email back from you, and I was like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah,
the one that everyone hates.
Oh, but you can listen. You cannot trust the taste of people, not on HIO, but like on jam pages, especially like depending what kind of jam is, like what the jam is for. I've seen people like. There was a guy who had submitted it to a game to Indiepocalypse, and it was what you call mediocre. I was not interested in it. It had no life to it. And then they had later given that same issue that I did not get into 1 star, and I saw, I'll sometimes click to see like, who are these people as I'm going to check out their games, and they were like, this game was the worst game. I can't believe it got highly rated in this jam. It was terrible. And it's like, I love weird shit. I love kind of personal stuff. I am not looking for, what a video game is or should be or is supposed to be or something. Who knows? But what I do like is cool games It's impossible to tell what will vibe with me at any given time.
Hmm.
Sometimes I will bounce off a game and I'll come back to it. I'm like, yeah, actually, I like this game a lot. And but I also think I'm more open-minded than your average gamer. I have a wide spectrum of things I appreciate. But speaking of things I appreciate, tell me a little bit about budget rate Stigmata.
I would describe it as a low res narrative, abstract, surreal walking simulator.
Yeah.
And I think that's a fair description because just by hearing that, you will either know, hey, I really want to play that, or I never want to touch that for the rest of my life.
Yeah, and I think something you might have run into in particular, not having seen these comments, where it's like low res, kind of, what's the word? I feel like it gets too shorthanded for horror too often.
Mm-hmm.
So if your game isn't scary, or not even, I've played a lot of, I've gotten submitted plenty of like lo-fi horror games, and I get it's like,
Yeah, I think that like uh some people really equate horror with jump scares and some like guys streaming on Twitch and yelling into the mic every time anything happens.
Yes.
And that's definitely not the kind of horror that my game is.
No. Do I try to collect 6 to 8 objects while a scary guy chases me?
That's not it. Nope.
Yeah, that's just there are a lot of. I'm waiting. There was one game that was like kind of close, where I kind of was almost won me over in that collect objects while a scary thing follows you genre, but it was like not quite. There's, I think you can make some. There is something in there, but I haven't found that. Maybe I will try and make something. Who knows? It's a strange genre. That slender 8 pages thing, but it feels like it's lacking. Like it is. It is close. It has a brief understanding of the slasher, but like not. It's not there. Like it doesn't fully understand what's good about creeping horror. But I get picky sometimes about horror. And what I like about them, but
yeah, people have described me as a pretentious snob about my horror games. So I mean, I don't think it's inaccurate.
Would you say you're, Rob, a bit of a horror head?
Maybe.
Do you? I mean, I learned in the break zone that you were the one who let me know about Dario Argento. Was that a Google? Was that a Google search, or did you know that just offhand?
No, I didn't know that.
Okay, that was a search offhand, but that is like, so what drew you to lo-fi, like this kind of, because there is like, it is very big within that kind of like haunted PS1 space, you know.
Yeah. I don't know. I remember when I was after, I think it was around when it had to be when like the PlayStation 2 was coming out, and there was still, of course, horror games coming out, like because there was a big boom for horror games coming out, I think, in PS1 era, because it didn't work quite as well, or at least people didn't know how to do it as well for like SNES sprite games. And then, PlayStation would come out and there would be a lot bigger, a lot more horror games come out. And then PS2 come out and it would have more horror games. And I was like, I kind of miss the fucking janky, polygons and the low resolution. And I feel like it added more ambiguity to what you're seeing.
Yeah.
Kind of fill it in yourself. And first you're going to feel something way more scary than whatever's actually there. And then there was started to be a movement of people making games that had the PS1 aesthetic, and of course, this is a long fucking time ago.
Yeah,
This
no,
is now.
Haunted PS1 is like even like the formation of like that more not official but like semi like that more organized
Yeah,
movement itself has been around for quite a while now.
definitely. And I remember when I found that, I was like, oh man, there's other people that think that too. That's so cool. And then I played some of them, and I was like, well, maybe it's not for me because they were kind of the same sort of, at least the ones that I played back then at the time, they're same kind of, find 12 pages or whatever while the scary thing comes out. And when it finds you, you don't know until 2 seconds later when it does a jump scare on your screen. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, maybe it's not for me until I started making games, and I was like, I'm gonna do it the right way. But of course, by then, people have already done it
Right,
well
right.
too. It's not like I invented making a weird, surreal PS1 game by a long shot.
No, but the loudest voices and the most like, because like you said, I mean, if you go to, it's a thing about itches. If you go to like any kind of like horror game, there's like at least 1 to 30 YouTube links on that game's page,
Yeah,
and it's because it's like a content thing. There are people who just like go through itch and just probably go through the horror tag and just like play everything for stream, 'cause-
yeah. There was even I used to make text adventure games, and people would post like YouTube videos of them playing through my games, and like they tried to be like and do like yell when there was like something scary. It's like, dude, this is not gonna work. Don't do it this way.
Right. Stories can be scary, but they don't jump scare you. They're scary in the way that they linger in your brain because they allow your brain to imagine the horrors of the universe and kind of get in your own head, and nothing scares us more than ourselves. Besides maybe a monster, a scary monster. I think if I saw a scary monster, I'd probably be scared. But
But are you scared of the monster or the idea of the monster in your head?
oh my god,
Plot twist.
what the monster represents. Am I truly scared of the dripping fangs, or am I scared of the unknowable cosmic emptiness that it imparts on me?
That's the one.
Yeah, that's the reason. We were looked at a lot of really schlocky kind of H.P. Lovecraft inspired low budget movies the other day. I say the other day when I say last night, and they are like, it's a fun subgenre of movies because it's like, you know,
Yeah, I remember there was a movie in the '90s that was a Lovecraft movie that was it was like a bunch of short little stories that were kind of vaguely connected. It was called the Necronomicon, and it was pretty low budget, and the special effects were not great. And I remember how much I completely loved it when I was like 12 years old. This is the coolest fucking movie I've seen in my life.
yeah, it's like, what is this? It's because it's the trickiness is, how do you visually portray cosmic horror? How do you visually portray that kind of like vast break to know that you are not. Uh-oh, my computer is running low on storage space. I have to do a thing. Okay, so last time this happened.
That's the real cosmic horror.
Last time this happened, I think I need to empty my recycling bin. The last time this happened, I made a mistake and I deleted the episode. This time, oh, look at this. 21 gigs. 42 gigs. Oh, we're clean out 42 gigs. We're cruising.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, that's local disk. Why is that local disk space? What the hell is getting stored on a local disk? I gotta figure that out after this. I don't know. Shouldn't be that much stuff on there. I don't put that much stuff on there. Anyway. Now I'm getting nervous. I
think mostly today it's tentacles is shorthand for cosmic horror.
Yes. Yes.
If a monster has tentacles, it will be tagged as cosmic horror, whatever it is.
Right. Comes from a portal, maybe.
Maybe? Or the ocean.
Yeah. It comes from some kind of some space that is not meant to be seen. But that is a strange sort of thing. There's a lot of, but like I do like kind of schlocky, low budget horror sometimes. Just like people making choices. That was the thing we were talking about lamenting. Is there's not enough cases where people are just out there making decisions about things.
I really like the schlocky low budget stuff, but only if it's like you can tell that the people making it thought this was the coolest fucking
Yes.
thing. They were like, everybody's going to love this, and it's not great, but it's only great because they thought that it was great.
Right.
That's what I like.
Right, because if you're not doing that, you can't you don't have you don't have the passion. You don't have that. You're missing out on something when you don't have that sort of that individual quality. Oh,
Yeah.
the hell is this thing? It's gigantic. Okay, shrinking down. I'm sorry. I'm temporarily throwing up a file tree thing to figure out where is this huge thing, so I don't lose recordings.
System 32, I don't need that.
No, I don't need that. Who needs anything? Game Maker Studio Cache, my god, you're gigantic. I don't even use you anymore. I guess I could probably delete. That's like 16 gigs. Anyway, Rob, I'm getting very distracted because I'm nervous that I'm going to. I have to lose the record. I have to make space real quick for this thing we're on right now. But I think
So everything that's going on might just be lost to the void.
I did lose one, and
The people who are watching and in chat, this might be the only time this ever happens. Maybe not, but maybe.
the second time it ever happened, I did do it once. But I think I'm good. I think even if, yes, I think we're good. I think the kind of temporary space that's being allocated by OBS is not going to clean up the rest of this hard drive. So we're good to go for the rest of the show, and I will clean up the rest of it afterwards and find where are all these, because I have a big SSD. No, I have an SSD for basically just my OS, and then I have everything else on a larger non-SSD drive.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a little baby SSD with not that much space on it. But speaking of little baby SSDs,
What a segue.
what a segue. If you were to have a little baby SSD, it might be hard to fit a lot of information into a game. So you might have to write some weird code. So I'm gonna take the one question. It's not /u specific, and ask you, what's the weirdest bit of code in your game?
I would say it is everything to do with when you're dropping all of the little bits of things that are sort of emblematic of the memories that you're giving up in the game. Everything everything about that is just horrible because I was still very 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 much new and learning how to work with Godot.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what the hell I was doing. So everything is completely unique, and there's no functions in that whole part. It's just one giant blob of code. It is horrible.
Oh, that's I as someone who has a Godot, I am on currently home/introduction/learning new features. I've cracked open the Godot docs, because I figure if I'm gonna make a game, I've been playing a lot of old FromSoft stuff, so I'm kind of I could make a 3D game, which means I should probably switch from a Game Maker to Godot if I'm gonna make a weird.
You can make a science-based dragon MMO, right?
No, I'm gonna make a game where you walk around in a cave and people laugh at you because they're uncomfortable and they feel doomed.
Well,
Um,
I mean, that sounds like something I'm into.
yeah, I'm very into it. The truest Souls likes are actually just like Shadow Tower and Kingsfield.
I've never actually played any of the FromSoft games before Dark Souls
Uh,
besides Armored Core.
I was gonna say I played a lot. I played a decent amount of the first Armored Core growing up, so I
Hmm.
have like that kind of
Me
like.
too.
I know. I also have the two Otogis on
Oh
Xbox.
wait, Eternal Ring, that was FromSoft, wasn't it? On
Yes.
PS2. Yeah, I played that a lot.
Yeah. So those games are cool. um, they're very like singular, and I like them a lot. I've been like. The other thing is, you need to, like. I I don't want remasters of games. I don't want updated games. I don't want any of that bullshit. I just want
Yeah.
games as they were, because I think you adapt like really fast to games. Like
Hmm.
people maybe don't like. Well, they're like, oh, these games play weird, but I think you'll adapt like super fast to like not even like it predates dual analog sticks, so all your camera controls on your triggers, all on your shoulder buttons.
Yeah.
And you know what? It feels second nature now. I think people just adapt.
I definitely remember the control scheme being really, really weird in Eternal Ring when I first played it, and then it just became fine.
Right. I grew up on because we had grown up on like the N64, or N64 and PlayStation, but in terms of first-person shooters, we only played on PlayStation. Like we played a lot of a dense amount of Perfect Dark, um, and I remember we rented Half-Life 1 for the PS2, and that game has dual analog control, and we could not understand it, like because we were so seasoned in like how Perfect Dark plays with like its strafing buttons and everything,
Hmm.
that it was just
Hmm.
unintuitive. So I guess what I'm saying is like if you're gonna put a tutorial in your game, you can actually make your controls whatever you want them to be. Yeah, you don't need to have tutorials for things that people understand. But speaking of things that people understand, most of us, I assume, live on the planet Earth, and the planet Earth it's one big rock. Rob, what's your favorite rock?
So I mean, I need to know: is this a genre question or is
This
this
is
a geology question?
that's the entirety of the question that you're being given. You're giving no follow up. It is
Uh-huh.
dealer's choice.
Um. Well, uh, in for the geology version, I think I don't know why, but I like opals.
Okay.
Uh,
Those are one of the
and
smooth ones, right? Are they like blue or green?
they're kind of like just kind of translucent and
Oh
like have
yes.
like a rainbow of colors.
For
And
what a poor gamer I
that's
am that I
also
don't recognize an opal. I've slotted it into so many pieces of my gear.
that's also a really cool video by Jack Stauber, so that probably doesn't help. Doesn't hurt.
No.
And in terms of genre, I mean, I don't know. I like really like progressive like death metal.
Okay. Yeah, that is. What you're saying is you're doubling down on unapproachability in terms of music.
Oh yeah, definitely. Uh, I have I recorded a bunch of music and it was all really uh pretentious progressive death metal,
Yeah.
and that was when I in 2020 I got uh, the left side of my body just stopped working, and so I went to the hospital thinking I had a stroke, but I had got diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, and now I can't really use my left hand and stuff very well, so I can't play guitar anymore. And that was when I started doing stuff with game development.
Right. Because it can like requires like less dexterity to some degree, or you also can be done with one hand. You can get one of those cool like I bet they have like one-handed keyboards.
Maybe you can get robot hand. That would be even better.
Yeah, yeah. We just had like where? Why don't we have affordable robot hands? Anyway,
I was promised robot hands in the cyberpunk future.
yeah, yeah. Instead, all we got was corporations owning everything, and nothing else. I mean, I guess if you live in the right place, you still have gaudy neon signs around.
Yeah, there's no gaudy neon signs around here.
I've got one big gaudy neon sign. It's like it feels like it's 1,000 years old. It's ugly and beautiful, and it's like the wonders of small town America, the ugliest shit in the world that's been around forever. Anyway, second question, Rob. Do you have a favorite Toho character?
I've never actually played a Toho game. They're like bullet hells, aren't they?
Yes, yes. The main line is Bullet Hell, though it has a very open license for people to make whatever sort of fan games they want.
Oh, that's actually kind of sick.
Yeah, we've had people on who I believe last week, week before, whose like main intro was like just the kart race. Someone made a kart racer with all the Toho characters, like a double dash like.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I forget that's part of Toho 101 is where Andrew looks up what the actual license of Toho is. I think you can't make porn with it or something. And you can't make like illegal stuff using the characters. But otherwise it's like pretty wide open in terms of like you can monetize things and everything. But that said, we're going to be going back to the break zone. Rob, thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We'll be back in about a minute 30, give or take. Hello and welcome back to Indiepocalypse Radio. That was Exotica with A3 Pesadilla. Is it 2 L's in there? Yes, it is. It is 2 L's in there, I think. I can't. Yes. Yeah, no, that is indeed in Spanish. If I can tell, if this Bandcamp page is anything to go by, is from Chile. That is Chilean punk music. But yes, we are back with the rest of the gang here. The whole crew is here. Welcome everyone. Let's talk about Chilean punk music.
Oh yeah.
Junko Records is who put that album out. Yeah, see, that's the thing that I talk about this, acquired by Epic and all that. But the nice thing about Bandcamp is they go way out there, from like the standard, like your stock standard thing, and there's also like tons of music blogs that do the same thing. So it's like, should Bandcamp, I'm forgetting the one, I forget it because I'm lazy and I go to the one that also has the. I'm gonna look that up. I got very into there's a regular anthology. Oh, they are perfect that they're Mexican because I was gonna mention there's if you're familiar with the regular anthology sort of thing, Weedian. As I am familiar with. It's like a doom stoner metal from around the world. Anyway, they did one album. They did a trip to Mexico at one point, and I got very into. I think their name is Rostro del Sol. They're like how do you describe music? It's like, I don't know, progressive jazz avant metal or whatever.
That sounds right up something I'd be interested in.
Yeah, Rostro del Sol kicks ass. Get yourself that album. I think the album is just called. Yeah, the album is also just called Rostro del Sol. They friggin' rule. I'm gonna I'm gonna slap that in there. The one that it was on there, it was called Bopsy Sketches, and I've probably played it like twice, if not 3 times on the show, because I think it just kicks so much ass. Yeah, let's see. They have 70s hard rock, rock, blues, funk, jazz, jazz rock, prog rock, psychedelic rock, Mexico. Yeah, the albums pay what you want. Yeah, yeah. It's just fucking rules. I mean, that's part of why I did my recent games from South America. It's because I think people tend to focus too heavily on like U.S. and Europe when there is like stuff that rules being made like everywhere, constantly.
Oh, absolutely. Especially on like with the tabletop space and stuff,
Yeah.
it's like, yeah.
Yeah. I've had plenty of on this show even from like Southeast Asia, like the Philippines, and I'm trying to think of where everyone is from specifically. But yes, there is a lot of people in that kind of broader Oceania. I mean, they're what's it called? It's called what, the CRPG, right? SEA RPG.
Yeah, Southeast Asia RPG community.
Yes.
Yeah, I grew up there, so.
Oh, perfect. Yes.
Yeah.
That is. Yeah. There's so much. People making cool stuff all over the world. Oh, what did you grow specifically, if you don't mind? Now you're.
Oh, no. I was born in Hong Kong, and then I grew up in Singapore. So there's
Okay.
actually, there's like a huge Southeast Asian game
Yes.
development community and tabletop game development community, like massive.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
there were like so much stuff, and like even in Southeast Asia, I think people sometimes kind of like look at Japan and stop sometimes,
Yeah.
and they forget about all the other countries there too, of which there are a lot.
Everything else. Yep.
Yeah, there's so much. That's why I make my little map of the world to be like, look, there's game developers all over the place, and I think it's like,
The map is super sick.
thank you. I'm a big even like there's so many people in the U.S. even, and people can discover like, oh look, there's other game developers in my state that I didn't know about. Like, Andy, did you know there's a whole? Have you been to that whole? Have you been to the Vermont scene at all?
I think there's one other person in Vermont, like near me, which is insane to me because
Yeah.
my town has 2,000 people in it. So
Right.
that's so cool.
I've made trips up there before to their like meetup groups, or once I did because I have to like stay
I need to
overnight.
like leave the house.
Yeah, I have to travel all the way from Massachusetts.
A whole hour and a half.
Well, to be fair, like their thing is in Burlington, and I'm near like the Cape, so
Oh,
it's like
oh shit, yeah.
it's like as far as you can go to get.
No, Burlington's like 3 hours away from where I am, and it's in the same state. So.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But it's a weird thing. But yeah, there's like all sorts of like people who don't realize that there's like game developers all around us,
Yeah.
Like, and as I increasingly do this, there's like probably more people who have been like, oh no, I met you at a show, and it's like, oh, there are all these people who you didn't even realize you knew, and especially as people get more like cross disciplined,
Oh, totally.
Yes, I have a map. I do indeed have a map. I should just make it. I should make an indiepocalypse.com/map.
I do like the map, but it makes me feel bad because I'm just from fucking Ohio.
No, that rule, because listen, Ohio is one of those. I mean, we have someone from Alaska, and that's like the golden goose. That and I'm looking at what's it called? Now I think Alaska's the real tricky one, and that I got one. I want to get all 50 states. There are
What are
game
you
devs
missing so far?
all over the world. I'm at like 22 or something. I don't know if you
You're
just
getting
count.
there.
Yeah. It's not just all us coastal elites who make games. There are people in
There's us hillbillies in Ohio.
I've gone to an event in Ohio before.
Oh my. Why?
I went to OhioCon.
What's OhioCon?
It's
It's an anime convention mostly.
but they have
Oh,
they have an indie game section there too, which I would actually highly recommend.
Like, I'm sure it's cool. I was really excited that it was Ohio themed for some reason.
Yes, no, it's like Ohio.
Like good morning in Japanese, I think.
Yeah, yes, it's a pun.
Oh.
Yes, it's a pun. But no, the person who runs the show, who runs that indie space, Griffin, has been on this show before too, and I believe it is free to attend, as like it's an indie space that you actually don't need to play. You don't need to pay to be yeah. I mean, you have to submit your game and everything, but you don't have to pay to be a attendee there or an exhibitor.
Like to table.
Yeah, you don't have to pay the table. That's the word I'm looking for. Table.
Oh, that's super cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe you don't have to pay the table as an indie dev there, which is like a huge barrier, you know.
Oh my god, yeah.
Like, never mind getting into it, you have to like pay to table at it, and also like game devs like don't sell things at events. I asked Andy, as an illustrator, have you ever gone to any kind of con where nobody was selling anything? They were just showing off their pictures.
That would be nuts, and I feel like every comic convention would completely fold if that were the case.
Right. It seems absolutely nuts, but that is like every game convention.
See, that's nuts to me. Like, then how do you make your table money back?
You don't, in fact.
You don't. Oh god.
And that.
You think it would work if you like baked your game onto USB sticks and sold it for cash?
Oh, like if you put them inside of like a cassette case, perhaps.
Like the Indiepocalypse anthology, perhaps.
Yes. Oh, it's and it works too. Like people think it's super cool.
It is really cool.
Thank you. It is. I set it up at the top, but there's a cool show in Providence, or like a market in Providence that I'm probably just going to go to every month now because I think it's cool. And technically, I will always have a new product every single month. So, and they are giving me space to like set up a demo station too, so people can play games there.
Oh, that's kind of sweet.
Nice.
So, because I was just talking to the organizer, and I was like, yeah, I was talking about events and how it's usually I was explaining why I make my zines, and it's like you can't demo games at events because I was like, this seems like a weird event to demo a game at anyway. He's like, no, you could do it. I'll let you, whatever. Just DM me on Instagram. I'll give you an extra space when you sign up, so you can have space for a demo booth. I was like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Local organizers are cool people, you know. But yeah, no, that would be a very weird thing. I think I tried to start it. I tried to say, hey, everyone, once events start opening back up, don't go to a game dev event unless you're selling something. I don't think people listen to me. I think they just keep going with their demos of their games that will come out 6 years from now.
Where do you find the money? I mean, I guess you just gotta roll your game sales into. I don't know, man.
I think that's part of. I think part of it is. I think that's why you get what feels like a very different vibe in games. Is that people can do this because they can afford it. They can afford to go to events where it's like, or in some cases, like, you know, some illustrators and comic artists were like, these events are actually like my livelihood.
Oh no, yeah, like they actually make money off of it.
Right. It's like,
I mean, not like, a crazy amount of money, but like you definitely can make part of your rent. Otherwise,
right.
We wouldn't leave. And do this as part of our job.
Right. That's like, it's like a part of your freelance income is like.
Exactly. You write the book and then you have to go and sell the book, as it were.
Yeah. No. See, Andy, new technique. Game dev is one of the biggest markets in the world. What if you wrote part of your book and just showed off the pages at an event and said the book's coming out in 2 years?
And I'm like, maybe you could give me money or not.
Wish list
also,
my book.
Yeah, wish list my book. That might happen.
You can sell T-shirts that just say "wish list" on Steam.
Right. No, Rob,
with the book cover on it.
You're giving game devs too much credit. They're giving away those T-shirts too.
No, I see that happening, and I'm like, why are you giving away merch that costs as much to print a comic? Like,
yes.
What is happening?
Yeah, there was. I attended. There used to be a game section within TCAF.
Oh, I love TCAF.
I also love TCAF, and it makes me sad because I can't. I have no excuse to go to make a trip to Toronto if I'm not attending there. It feels too extravagant. I mean, I'm lucky that I also have mice like 40 minutes away.
Well, mice rules. There's a show where you actually make human money off of selling
Oh,
books.
mice is. I usually go when I go to mice, I spend like $100, and I'm like,
That's a lot to a cartoonist.
not to one person. To like, I'll usually buy like, especially now that everyone has Square readers, I can.
Oh yeah, that actually it helps a lot.
Yeah, because I can. I'll usually go there and I'll purchase almost like half the booths. You know.
There's so much good shit there.
I have a milk crate full of like zines, because I also obsess a bit about not a milk crate. It's like an actual one of those file crates, but that looks like a milk crate.
Oh yeah.
But I have them all organized and alphabetized, all my zines and mini comics that I've purchased.
Nice.
As it should be.
Truly.
I love to organize books. I have my system is it's height, then publisher, then alphabetical. with some mild deviations, but enough about books and me talking too much. Horror movies, I think they're cool. I wanted to talk about them. So anyway, I asked you previously what is a good intro. What do you think would be the most off-putting movie that you like that you would never recommend? You'd say, no, this is expert level.
I really love Hereditary and It Follows, and I don't think I would make anybody watch that as their first intro to something scary, because I think that they would stop being friends with me, but maybe I wouldn't want to be friends with somebody who didn't like Hereditary. So there's that!
Were you similarly in the theater? Did you get up and start pumping your fist at the end of Hereditary and going, "This movie rules"?
It's so good. Like, I wish I would have seen it in the theater. I had to acquire it.
I thought the ending was the best part because it just gets so fucking weird.
Yeah, I love when a movie takes just like a hard swing and you didn't know how you're getting there. I am someone who loves to live deliciously.
Yes.
It's a beautiful thing about movies. Movies are good. Indiepocalypse official stance. I love movies.
It's true. Everybody be supportive of the strikes.
Yes. Right.
Yeah.
These movies
100%.
These movies don't happen without the actors and writers making these movies. You know that's who makes the movies.
It's true.
Like I've talked about this show on the show frequently that I joked on the show about how Indiepocalypse I liked listening to actors and writers on podcasts get 3-cent residuals in terms of royalties, and I think the underlying part of that is like where game developers get none, getting 3 is not much better. Getting 3 cents because you guest starred on an episode of something is like kind of bad. Also,
It doesn't feel good. I can't imagine it would. Like,
no. Like I think the Indiepocalypse $6 promise I think only feels good. Both one because I'm not a multi-billion dollar corporation, and also you get even less of that in game dev.
well, you're paying more than people who run Orange is the New Black. So
Right, exactly. Yeah, that would be a terrifying thing to compare Indiepocalypse royalties to major Netflix shows, and if it was higher than anybody's, I would
Oh no.
be truly terrified.
I think I've actually seen some pretty dismal Netflix show residual pictures on Twitter.
Yeah, it's like this constant thing of like rewriting rules. Like, oh, it's streaming now. It doesn't count. The numbers are different. They don't count anymore.
Why?
Right. It's just like, whereas I'm sure you used to be able to like, to some degree, like live off of syndication practically forever, you know? But anyway, it all sucks. Now you can't like write for a show and make any money. I like.
Yeah, now the CEOs. I think someone crunched the numbers, and Bob Iger makes 388 times the most like X money as the lowest paid employee at Disney.
Yeah.
And how was it in the 70s? It was like 30 times. So riddle me that.
How much value do you think he adds to people's lives?
Exactly. How much of the Disney films has he written or animated, do you think?
I would say 0.000%. It's all zeros, all the way down. I want to find that quote from Alec Robbins about throwing Grimes.
Mr. Boop, Alec Robbins?
Yes. Right, yeah. I make more money. He was like, I make more money from frequent residual checks for whipping Grimes with the Eric Andre show with no lines, wearing no mask, not a working actor, than the main cast of Orange is the New Black and Made in Residuals for being on
Oh God.
one of the most popular shows Netflix put out.
Yeah. It was. I think it was $45 was the amount on that residual. So we should all be feeling pretty good about ourselves, or really bad about capitalism. Definitely that
Yeah.
last one.
It's like, it is truly, they just like made up new rules. And then they're like, well, what? I know the rules are bad, but what if we made up newer rules? And what if we just record your bodies and just use them? Here's $20.
That AI thing. The we can just scan extras and own them forever.
Yeah. No. We were watching, like, while we were waiting for our food to come yesterday, we just threw on Shout TV. And there was it seems bad. A movie called Candy. You want to feature Ringo Starr doing his worst Mexican accent you've ever seen. Why is Ringo Starr doing a Mexican accent? Anyway, but there was like a room. He's like, my friend was like, there's like 40 people in this room. Like, no, there's like 80 people in that room. And there's like, you have to get people in a room and just if you want a bunch of people in a room, you have to pay a bunch of people to be in a room.
Not anymore.
And the idea of just like, no, we're just going to put a bunch of CG people in a room that we paid $20 once.
And now we own their image, and if they ever want to actually, act more than in a background role, sucks to be them, I fucking guess.
Yeah, it's all like, it's a surprising take that long-standing independent published small press thing thinks artists ought to get paid more money.
Wild.
Yeah, no, actually, this is a secret scheme. I'm in league with the fat cats this whole time. I'm waiting to be so I can become a fat cat myself.
You, how dare you?
So that I can pay people no residuals anymore. I'll say, sorry, I ran your games through AI, so now I own them.
I knew it right from the start.
Making AI-generated Indiepocalypse titles.
Yes. Oh, AI-generated covers. Never. That sucks. It sucks. I love these. See, that's the thing. Like, why would you ever AI generate a piece of art when you can just pay someone to make a good one for you?
Yeah. Like, and you actually get to experience somebody's, perspective on something.
Yeah. The thing is, like, art has no perspectives. Or, like, AI art has no perspectives. It just has what other people have. And it just has, like, it strictly has the perspectives of other people.
And it doesn't really know what it's doing, and it's mashing it together, and just, I don't know. It's gross. It's also gross how it scrapes people's art.
Yeah,
without their consent. Yeah.
Listen, we had a fun time where we made Columbo do things, but
that time is over.
Yes, that is the extent of what it should ever have been used for.
It's true though.
It reminds me of, there was a story, I think it was by Ramsey Campbell, that was written in the 80s, and it was about using canned laughter in TV shows, and how it ended up like stealing the people's souls or something. And I was like, man, Ramsey Campbell should write one about the AI, and that would be even more, because that one was really freaky.
Yeah, it's what it kind of does, is it just kind of boils away at the essence of things, and it's content. It's just content. and I hate content. I don't want to. I don't want to experience
I
content.
do hate content.
I have no interest in experiencing content.
Content and algorithms.
Yeah, it's part of why I'm not online very often, because it feels like most of like the schisming of social media is just people creating content for new sites, and like, didn't you learn anything? Don't create content for sites.
And the freaking social media algorithms have learned that outrage generates so much more interaction.
Yeah.
So it just constantly shoves stuff in your face that you don't want to see because it knows it upsets you, and it's like, oh man, I just don't want to go on the internet and be upset anymore.
Right.
I've had fucking enough of all of this.
Yeah.
I'm free. I'm truly free. I'm just
Elon Musk's Twitter has gotten so horrible that I no longer wish to be on board this train.
Yeah, I mean, I am very, very strictly like, I just post what's there. Occasionally, like, I need to, I don't know, make stuff so people will pay attention or something. You need to accumulate followers.
Also dismal.
Yeah,
You just need to remind people that you still exist.
right. It's a weird thing where I'm like, I think the thing I should be making is good enough, but instead you also have to like post derogatory to get people to pay attention. I'm not interested. Games should be more like other things where I can just be on a million podcasts all the time. Anyway, that's. Oh, I'm nervous about my hard drive space again. Oh no! Yes, we were running. Actually,
Oh.
it decreased by half since I last looked. So usually, actually, hour and a half is a good length for this show. That's a great length for this show. Does anyone else have? Let me do one more question check of the Google forum for questions. Nothing. Closed it. I'm gonna pull the group here. Any more breaking questions? Any statements you need to say? Don't worry about my hard drive space. We have plenty of time to ask more questions if you have them.
Hmm.
But no.
How was the delay on for them on the chat?
Yes. Oh no, I'm not. If they want to ask questions, they can go to the Google form. I do not. unless I know you, I don't interact with the chat. Okay, since I do know you, you are allowed to ask a question. Favorite comfort food?
Ooh.
I like homemade lasagna.
That sounds really good.
Yeah.
Like carbonara in a similar vein.
Plain
food.
No. So you are allowed to ask. If I know what your name is outside of your username, you're allowed to ask questions in the chat. That's the rule of.
It's the rules.
It's the rules. It's like if you were like friend of the show, but I'm not like a Twitch streamer who's like, hey, what's up, Bong Lord? Thanks for joining us today. How you doing? Shout out to the chat. Everyone doing good today? Hello. And then you can see my animals and the people in my life walking in the background. There's a reason I have cameras on here. I don't know you. You are not my friend. This is
Please get off my lawn.
Yes, changing your name to Bong Lord.
You don't want to foster those parasocial relationships.
No, I barely want to foster social relationships. I'm canonically a frigid New Englander.
It's true. We don't want you here. We barely tolerate us.
I remember when I realized later in life that Ethan Frome is the perfect portrayal of New Englanders because there's a bunch of people in the cold who hate each other, and one of them crashes a sled and dies or whatever. I can't remember. I don't think someone dies. I don't remember if they die. But it's just freezing in misery. But the people, I also welcome this and friendliness. But there's a degree of standoffishness, I think, that exists regionally or whatever. Andy, the important question I want to ask is, this podcast radio show is vaguely about video games, but the most important thing I often need to know is I need to know about food, and I have to know, is there any food that you cannot get in the U.S. that you used to be able to get, like a real staple that's like, damn, why don't you have this here?
Hmm.
I feel like there's like 100 answers, but I'm drawing a blank here.
Yeah, this was.
You know what there should be more of? There should be more revolving sushi around here. Maybe
Okay.
not with COVID, but revolving sushi kicks ass.
Yes.
Yeah, more sushi that isn't grocery store or gas station sushi.
Yeah, and no cream cheese. Stop putting cream cheese in your sushi.
How dare you? That is anti-American.
I don't know what a Philly roll is, but I have been forced to find out.
I love American bastardizations of things sometimes.
I will eat some of it, but
It's just like
upset.
it's the weird trashness of a 200-year-old country or whatever, just throwing this bullshit into everything.
Some of it's good.
Some of it is good. Like anyway, speaking of bastardizations of, I'm gonna get some food after this. But before we go, and I nervously refresh my hard drive space again. Okay, I gotta.
About 6 kilobytes. That's plenty.
That's plenty. Enough to fit
Yeah,
Doom. Enough to fit a podcast. We're gonna close the show out with the important part of podcasts is where you go, all these people were talking the whole time, but where can I continue to find their work after they kept talking about it? And this is where I go, oops, I should have reopened that Google form because it's where I keep this information so I can paste it in here. Thank you. I love doing the show because, like I said in the past, I don't travel to game events, and I rarely are. When in the history of life would the three of us be within the same room? Unlikely, you know. But like, it's perhaps I could be at OhioCon or some other similar convention and run into one of you, but the two of you, the three of us together, seems
Truly.
unlikely. And this is the show is like a space, I think, to kind of get that con hangout vibe, but like through the internet.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, Rob, your stuff, where can people find it if they're looking to find it?
It's mostly on herorob.itch.io is I believe my site, but I mean it's fucking
Yes.
on itch
That
somewhere.
is, and that's Rob with 2 B's.
Yes, Hero Rob with 2 B's, and not the whole Hero Rob with 2 B's, but you know what I'm saying.
Yes. It's right. It's like the Hero Rob with 2 B's. Precisely. The Rob part has 2 B's. It's 2 B's at the end.
It's just getting a longer and longer URL.
2B. 2b.com/Hero Rob.
/squarespace.com.
Yes. 2B. Your all reliable friend when you need him. When you're like,
For real, it's just herorob.itch.io,
Yes.
and Rob has 2 B's.
correct. That's the correct version of it. Andy, your stuff. Where can people find your work if they're looking for it?
Oh, well, there's a website, slasherugame.com.
You
It
have
just
that
takes you
too.
to my news cities.
You're so
I
full of
do.
URLs. You've got multiple.
I love URLs. Yeah. Oh, and I'm doing a Kickstarter to fix the rest of the bugs in Act 1 and to do Act 2.
Yes.
There's some cool shit. For $6, you get an early access copy of Act 2, which will probably come out, honestly, in maybe 4 or 5 weeks. Just the Layla part, not anything else.
And this is like a timely plug too, because it just launched like last week, right?
Yeah, on Monday, actually. So I have an open dev cycle, so you can play a new version of my game every 2 weeks. If you've bought a copy, you can play it forever. Let's see. The other cool tier is for $300, I will full-on skin you in as a player in the game. So, that's pretty sick. Doing that. Nobody has 300. Well, actually, one person did, which I'm going to cry about right now.
I
Holy crap.
I similarly run into that thing where when I put when Itch hosts their sales, I put all the bundle issues into 5-issue bundles. I also make one giant bundle of every issue. It's up to like $300 now. Somebody reliably buys it every single month.
Yeah, I'm like, holy crap.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense because I do also spend like $600 to $700 each month making Indiepocalypse. So if I theoretically have that money, someone else.
Right, like at some point, I too have had $300 in my life.
Yeah, right.
I bet I have sometime.
Yeah,
Right. It's not this time.
yeah. If you're wondering what that secret is to getting that Indiepocalypse money, might I recommend spending a decade not spending a lot of money and paying off debt. That's the Indiepocalypse tip. Also, don't live in the city.
Oh God, yeah.
That's also a great way to save money. That all said, the people are building too much stuff around me. I'm like, I need to retreat further into Western Mass, get away from all this shit.
You need to leave into the woods.
Right.
My tip for making money would be just steal it from somebody else who has more than you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they don't need
French
it.
Revolution this. Why not? I mean, honestly.
Listen, people have too much money,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Nobody.
Straight up.
No, there's no practical need for a human being to have millions of dollars or even hundreds of thousands of dollars.
If you literally cannot spend the amount of money you have in a single lifetime, what the fuck are you doing?
Right. Yeah. It's too much money. Too much money. But if you have money,
You should buy video games.
might I recommend going to indiepocalypse.com and spending it there.
Yeah, you can get issue 10 and issue 42.
Yes, and then you can contribute to the Indiepocalypse $6 promise. I need to just keep saying this 'cause I need to put this on my on my homepage one of these days because I really enjoyed what contributor of the show had said. I'm gonna find what they said about it, but it's like, I like being in Indiepocalypse. It was a really cool thing, and it made my game look cool. And then also every 6 months, Andrew sends you $6. And that is kind of sort of the... Yeah, here it is. Indiepocalypse Pro. Working with Andrew made me hopeful for what games are and can be, and sometimes he sends me $6 on PayPal. and that
Let me
is...
tell you, when I get $6 on PayPal, it fucking makes my whole week.
That's what I
Like,
hope.
do you know spaghetti you can buy for $6? Like,
Yeah. Andy, you're not new. You're about to experience the thing where you go, oh man, Andrew gave me like $80 last week. What am I gonna get next week? And it's like, wait, where's my
is
money?
it $6?
And I'm like, bad news for you about Indiepocalypse week 2. All the money comes from Patreon. Which is to say, go to indiepocalypse.com/Patreon. You can sign up there. You can get it monthly. It's like a nice monthly subscription. You get the games. If you don't want to spend a lot, you can get. You can just spend $5. There's a $5 tier for newly commissioned games. And you'll get just the newly commissioned game each month. And listen, $5 for like some of the hottest games in game dev, indie dev being made by some of the coolest people in game dev. That is like a steal for that, honestly.
It's a great way to spend some of that money you stole from somebody.
Yes, exactly.
True.
You can also get the quote unquote tapes there. You can also go to indiepocalypse.com/tapes. You can get a USB stick inside of a cassette case with the cover art on it. And these things, they look great, honestly. Like, I see them in person. You can see them on my site. You can see them rotating. This is not a 3D approximation of it. If you pay attention, this is a little tip for the live viewers. If you look really closely at the top of that tape spinning, you can see my fingers spinning that tape.
That is now my favorite thing on the screen.
Yeah, I made that just by recording that video on my phone, and then that's not even chroma key. That's like I used the lasso tool and inverted selection because it is it's a square. It's all straight lines, so it's super easy to do. That all said, oh, I gained 200 more. Yeah, I deleted every frame.
Oh.
I took it. I recorded it on my phone. I put it into VLC. I exported the frames from VLC. I cut about probably I cut them down to probably a third or a quarter of those frames. So I had probably like cut it down to maybe like, I don't know, 10, 12 frames or whatever. And then I just go in there, invert tool, cut and paste those. Instant GIF.
I very much approve of this style.
If I was a streamer, I could have probably like chroma keyed them out, but I have so many. This one I probably couldn't because it's also green. And then I also would have to chroma key out my fingers, so I'd have to have those gloves too. But anyway, yeah, you can do so much stuff. Just like you can just do stuff.
It's true, you can.
You can just do. No one's stopping you. You can just do stuff.
I do
And no
stuff
one's
every
like
day.
stopping you from making a video game.
Right,
which
yeah.
is-
And no one's stopping you from like making anything.
No one's stopping you from stealing money from someone.
Yeah.
They probably all know.
And distributing it to Indiepocalypse.
Yeah, that's it. And if it's cash, it's non-traceable.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Make sure you use cash.
because that's the thing. The people used to like sell games like they would have addresses, and you would mail them money, and they would mail you games in like Ziploc bags. You know.
I once mailed RuneScape $15 in coins and dollar bills for a subscription, and they actually gave it to me. I wish we could live in those times again.
Yeah, that's like, it's why I say you can go back to having a website. You know, before before UbuWeb had to like remake their Twitter account. They had a very good post that was something to the effect of, actually, the internet hasn't really changed at all. UbuWeb is basically what it was back in 1995 or whatever. And you can just still make websites like you always could. And like we were funneled into social media, but we don't need to live that life, you know?
That's so true.
That's why, like, you can just go to people's websites. You don't have to go to itch. You can, in fact, go to slasheru.com.
/UGame.com.
Sorry,
I do not know
/UGame.
where the others. Or you could type in. There's a link to the website too. But yeah, /UGame.com. I have GIFs. Hope you like GIFs.
Yeah,
I
like-
do.
I make my own. I do love GIFs.
It's true. There's fingers in them. There's no fingers in my GIFs.
Yeah, I make a lot of my own GIFs.
That's, one negative thing is there's no fingers in there.
You can put.
Yeah.
You
There
can
are
put
fingers in
everywhere.
/U though, but I'm not allowed to tell you what they're doing.
Right. This is no, this is not. I've had filth before on this show. No, or like in the zine, or like before. Like that's the thing I think about occasionally.
Filth is
is, like I've had plenty of like 18 plus, or not plenty, but I've had 18 plus. Not just text. I'm talking like graphic stuff too. So it's like more than.
Oh,
welcome.
I don't know why I said we, but I just put out the visual NSFW version of /U. If anybody played the one that's in Indiepocalypse, you can now see Dong, which is very exciting.
Listen, and Indiepocalypse.
Risque.
Indiepocalypse hardly. Indiepocalypse has hung dong before.
I'd very much like to see that.
Shout out to Catharsis. You play Catharsis then. Catharsis rules also. Not spelt like that. Said like that, but not spelt like that. Fuck, I don't know how to spell it. But I love games. L.O.V.E. No, I don't remember how to spell it. But anyway, now I play the game of do I remember what issue this was in? I think I do. Did I get it in one? Fuck no, that's I got it in.
That's the other Dong game.
Yeah, no, there are no dogs in Sylvie Lime. At least not explicit.
Yeah, what's the
ones.
Dong to non-Dong ratio of Indiepocalypse right now?
It's very low. There's a very no. This is the thing where I'm like, oh my god, there are so many friggin' issues. I think, oh, this is from a fairly new one. I'm like, no, it isn't. Issue 31 is what it is from. Catharsis. Love games. It's cropped, but and it is.
Oh, yeah. I wouldn't have guessed that spelling.
Yes, and you would never have guessed that spelling. But you can see there a nice little sensor bar. That sensor bar does not exist within the game. You get in Indiepocalypse. Indiepocalypse is for adults. I'm an adult, but not for adults. That's a whole other topic of like what quote unquote for adults, but doesn't mean there's dicks.
Adults
there.
and adult adjacent.
Yeah. Indiepocalypse
For adults and adult.
Indiepocalypse, exactly. When there's not even when there are not the traditionally explicit materials, there are, I think, a lot of adult ideas happening.
Oh yeah.
A lot of mature concepts, or mature or great for pretentious teens. I think if you out there in listener land are a pretentious teen, let me tell you, you can make Indiepocalypse your identity. It's full of just like the most I feel like I would.
You're gonna look extremely hip.
Yeah.
Please do not play my game unless you are 18 years old or older, or I will be very upset.
Right, but there is like a certain man, if you wanted to be the cool kid.
You know all about like the cool hard to find indie games and make all your friends jealous. This sounds like I'm joking, but I think you would actually impress people.
Yeah, I think there is I think some people have there is that desire, or at least there was at some point in my day. I say as if it was so long ago in high school. There was a joy of discovery in showing your friends new stuff. The ritual of showing each additional member of a friend group a master of the flying guillotine. Which, if you haven't seen it, also one Andrew's Rex. It's a good movie. I don't know where. Sorry.
If you're gonna make some media your identity, make it Indiepocalypse.
It's a great one. And especially because Indiepocalypse asks nothing for you in return except your money. That said, thank you. I'm getting nervous again with this hard drive, even though I think it's fine. We could probably go forever. But Rob, Andy, thank you both for being here on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Glad to have you. This is. It's one of my favorite parts of the week. It's a fun thing to do. I like to.
This was so much fun.
I love to hang out.
I learned a lot about rocks.
Yes, right. You come here, you learn about rocks. You get a little. You're guaranteed to learn a little bit about rocks, a little bit about Toho every week, and then sometimes you learn a little bit about. Sometimes it's about games. Sometimes it's all about me getting very obsessed with the Tesco meal deal. Which
really is just the friends along the way.
Indiepocalypse was the friends you made along the way.
Exactly. Yeah, it's about making that mild con. It's about making those mild con acquaintances that you see and you wave to, you go hello, but then don't have to be in their social media life forever. I'm gonna copy.
Oh. Also, I'm going to be at SPX. Speaking of cons, that's my last con of the year. See you guys at Small Press Expo in Bethesda.
Oh, that is the one show I am envious of.
It's so much fun.
I wish I had an excuse to go to SPX so bad.
I love SPX.
I was like, I know people who go to oh, look at all these people I like going to SPX. It was when Koosh Comics was posting their stuff of going to XPS, and I was like, damn. I wish I was there.
There's so many people.
I know the guy from Koosh Comics.
Yeah, you'd have someone to hang out with at the hotel bar at SPX.
We collaborated. We made a collaborative issue.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, there was one of these things. It was a collaborative. I said, "Hey, give me some cool underground indie comic artists. I'll give you some game devs." And they made some games, and they're real cool.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, SPX. I love comics a lot. Comics rule.
Comics are the best.
Huge
Also, video games.
Video games and comics, they're good things. Maybe I like comics a little more. Don't tell anyone.
You're gonna have to turn in your capital G gamer card for that.
I will.
True.
I will. But at least I have mice. At least I have mice. But anyway. See you all next week on Indiepocalypse. I was winding up like I have a sign off, but I don't have a sign off. Should I get a sign off? Should I have a sign off?
You need a catchphrase.
Right.
Yeah, you need a catchphrase.
That's all, gang.
That's all, gang. Game on, gamers. Keep gaming. Keep on gaming Keep on gaming forever. Happy gaming, gamers. Let's go home. I'm shutting down this goddamn show. Goodbye.